morning. This is a convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Today's Thursday, October 10th. It's approximately 9:30 a.m. East Coast time. I'm Jordan Maynard. I'm currently serving as interim chair. We're hosting this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
And this is meeting number 536. Before we begin, I would be remiss if I didn't say that our thoughts and prayers are with those suffering from Hurricane Milton and those continuing to deal with Hurricane Helene. I know that last night I talked to even a few of our colleagues here who have had family members who are dealing with the issues there. So our thoughts and prayers are with them. And we know that the work that we do is only part of life, and those folks are dealing with some real struggles this morning. So we're thinking about them. With that said, I'm going to turn to Secretary Skinner. I believe we have some meeting minutes.
We do. We have 3 sets today. And if everyone is ready to move forward on a vote, then I could make the motion. All right. See some nodding. I move that the commission approve the executive session minutes from the July 17th, 2023, July 27th, 2023, and August 8th, 2023. I'm sorry, I said executive session. Let me start over. I move that the commission approve the session, it's early, I'm sorry. I move that the commission approve the minutes from the July 17th, 2023, July 27th, 2023, and August 8th, 2023 meetings that are included in our packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And I vote yes for 0. Thank you for those, Commissioner
Thank
Skinner.
you. And thank you, Judy.
Yeah. I will note for Commissioner Skinner that some of us are at G2E out in Vegas this morning. So it's an early morning for some of us, and I know that we will be prepared to update the commission on what we've learned out here at a future meeting. With that, let's go to Commissioner Hill. Do you have a legislative update, Commissioner Hill?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, the group that's been working on legislative matters found out over the last couple of weeks that the legislature is still continuing to work on an economic development bill. And with that information, we thought it may be appropriate to send another letter to the 2 chairs of the Ways and Means to ask another time if we could add language that would be important to helping us run our agency. The letter, as I understand, is on page 34 of our packet. And before we just went and sent the letter, I wanted the commission to take a quick look at it and ask if they wanted to send it as a commission or if it would be all right if we just send it through our executive director. My recommendation today would be that we just need to send it through our executive director, but I certainly would take guidance from my fellow commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner O'Brien, I see your mic's off.
Yeah, I'm fine with sending it through ED Serpa. I did have a request to maybe tweak the sentence that starts "at present, it is difficult for the commission to engage in robust oversight." If that can just be done in a way where this isn't limiting our ability to function, but it's making it cumbersome and difficult on us and the licensees. I just want to make sure that there's no implication that we need this, for further authority to execute our responsibilities, that this is just something that's sort of needlessly cumbersome on us and the operators. But otherwise, I think we should definitely send it out.
I would have no issue with that, Commissioner O'Brien.
I see Mills was nodding, and Dean, I think they sort of got the gist of my comment, so I don't need to see it again, just my thoughts.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can wordsmith that and make it a little more clear.
Commissioner Skinner, I see your mic's off.
Yeah, I approve the letter. I think it's necessary. I also approve of it going out under Executive Director Serper's name. What did we do last year? However, I just want to make sure. Just wondering if there's something that we're doing different this year in terms of the signatories than last year. Or
Well,
last time we sent the letter, rather.
So thank you for the clarification. The last time we did send it as a commission. This time, due to the fact that they are just still discussing this bill in what's known as a conference committee, I didn't see a problem with the ED sending it over. It's for expedient reasons, I would say.
So Commissioner Hill, my only guidance would be with Commissioner O'Brien's changes. I know that the team put a lot of work in this and you did too. I'll be fine with ED Serpa sending it over.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have for a legislative update.
All right. So I think you have your guidance, right, ED Serpa? All right.
Yes, thank you very much.
So ED Serpa, we now have an administrative update. So I'm going to kick it over to you.
Yes, right. Thanks. Good morning, commissioners. Yeah, I have one update for us today. There is a memo with more information in your packet, but the topic today involves the date on which the commission would release and post publicly the monthly gaming and sports wagering revenue numbers. So as you know, and as you might have read in the memo, by statute, the casino and sports wagering operators have to provide the commission with revenue figures by the 15th of the month, in this month for past month, right? And as you know, the casino operators provide us revenue numbers daily, and the sports wagering operators are required to only report those numbers by the 15th of the month. And then historically, the commission has tabulated, summarized, and released those same figures also on the 15th of the month or the next business day. However, there's no actual statutory requirement that we do it on that date, but it's a best practice to make sure that we do put them out monthly. So what we're suggesting today is that we move the date for the commission to release the combined revenue data, to move that date to the 20th of the month or the next business day. This procedural change will allow our finance and communications staff additional time to review, reconcile, check the accuracy of the information provided by the operators, format and package it, and then post it publicly. As you know, with the addition of sports wagering, we've had many more reporting entities than when we originally started reporting the revenue numbers. And in the past few months, we have had a few instances where we've had challenges in collecting, auditing, and then releasing the information on the same day or on the 15th. So making this change would assure that we're always accurate and confident in the information that we release. So that's the suggestion. If there's no questions or objections today, the plan would be for the communications team to release the September revenue numbers on the 15th of October per our normal procedure. And we'll make notation to the users of the data on the 15th of this month to expect a change with the release beginning next month in November with the reporting of the October revenue numbers. And that's the suggestion, that's the recommendation. And with that being said, I know we have Communications Division Chief Mills and CAFO Lennon are on the call, and the rest of the team if you have any questions.
Thank you, ED Serpa. Commissioners, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine with the proposed change.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah, same here.
Commissioner Skinner, we good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. That's it for my update, Commissioner.
All right. Thank you, Edie Serpa. Thank you. I'll take the time, Derek and Tom, for getting those out every month and your great record of doing so. And I hope this gives us more time to make sure that everything's perfect as it goes out, which it always is. So thank you. All right, so that takes care of item number 4. I'm going to go to item number 5. And for that, we're really excited about item number 5, by the way. We're going to go to, I think we're going to go ahead and go straight to Caitlin Monahan. Caitlin.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I am excited on behalf of the hiring committee for the Chief Enforcement Counsel role to present our final candidate to the commission. And that candidate is Kathleen Kramer. As you know, the hiring committee engaged in a long and substantive process, and Kathleen emerged as the final candidate. She started her career by spending 10 years at the district attorney's office as an ADA, where she served both in district and superior court and in multiple managerial roles. She then came to the commission in July of 2022, and she's been with us ever since. And in fact, since December of 2023, she has served as interim chief enforcement counsel and assistant director of the IEB, where she has done a wonderful job, as we've all experienced. So we're very excited to present Kathleen to you as our final candidate.
So thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. Commissioner O'Brien.
So I came into the process on the second round, and there was something to be said for each of the people that were in that second round. But at the end of the day, Kathleen's experience across the board, particularly at her time with IEB and her understanding of ushering through sort of the more complex cases, really stood out for me. And then she has the institutional knowledge as well. But that was sort of second to none in terms of the breadth of experience that she had coming into that. So, I was a strong yes for that as well. And I wanted to thank the committee. I know they did a lot of work before I kind of jumped in on the second round. And so I just want to thank the team too for all the work. And congrats to Kathleen in advance.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien, and thank you for your service on that committee. We always appreciate that. Commissioner Hill?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say congratulations, Kathleen. I'm very excited for this opportunity for you. I've loved working with you as the interim, and now I look forward to working with you in this full-time capacity. Congratulations. And I was going to say welcome aboard, but you're already aboard.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Skinner?
I'll just say congratulations to Kathleen. Kathleen is here at G2E with Chair Maynard and I, and so I did get an opportunity to speak to her directly about her new role and just say a few words in appreciation for everything that she has done for the commission and everything that she will do in this new capacity. So I'll say it again. Thank you very much for your service to the agency, and I wish you all the success in your new role and look forward to working with you there. And I will also say that I appreciate Commissioner O'Brien's input on this committee. One of the things that one of the first questions I asked is whether there was commissioner involvement in the final determination. And so when I understood that Commissioner O'Brien had a chance to weigh in, that was enough for me. Above and beyond what I know of Kathleen in the first instance.
So I'll take this opportunity. I know that all the commissioners here get feedback from other jurisdictions, from other colleagues across the country, from licensees and other stakeholders. Whenever we talk about CEC Kramer, it's nothing but positive. And she is such a great reflection on the commission and on the MGC. And so just making sure that we were able to have her in the first place, but then to retain her in this position is really exciting to me. So Kathleen, thank you for serving. I know you could be out in the private sector somewhere making a ton of money and doing all that stuff, but you're here working on behalf of the people of Massachusetts. So we're happy about that.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone. It's still, I don't think it's even 7 a.m. yet here in Vegas. So bright and early for us. Thank you everyone for the kind words, and thank you to the hiring committee. As you said, Commissioner O'Brien, I know there was a lot of work that was put into it. So I thank everyone for their time on it and for their confidence in me. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I think we have a great team in the CEC's office with the attorneys and our paralegal. And of course, as the IED as a whole, it's a great team to be a part of, and looking forward to our continued growth, and really appreciate everything that's been said, and thankful for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And I think the team knows the commission's happy with the work that was put into this. Thank you, Director Monahan. Congratulations, Kathleen. With that, we are going to turn it over to item number 6. Did anyone else have anything to say? All right, we'll turn it over to item number 6. And for that, we are going to go to the Director of Community Affairs, Joe Delaney. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. So today we have for you some reappointments to our local community mitigation advisory committees and our subcommittee on community mitigation. The first one for Region A is Vincent Panzini. Vincent's been a longtime member of our LCMAC and has agreed to continue for another year. The next person is David Bancroft, who comes from Mass Development. Again, he's been on our Region A LCMAC for a number of years and would like to continue along with us. In Region B, we have a few reappointments or new appointments. So we have Joan Kagan Levine, who's our human service provider from Square One. Again, been with us for a while. Ellen Patashnik, also a human service provider, has been on the Region B LCMAC for quite some time. Richard Sullivan, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Economic Development Council of Western Massachusetts. He's been, again, on our committee for quite some time. Lastly, on Region B is Robin Wozniak, who's a member of the West of the River Chamber of Commerce. She is a new member. It just started with us a little while back. So is up for a full appointment for a year. And then lastly, in our subcommittee on community mitigation, the commission's representative has been Hill. And if he is willing to serve for another year, we would like to reappoint him as well for that committee. And with that, if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Commissioners, any questions about those that were included in our packet and what Joe just went over? I don't know about that Brad Hill guy. Otherwise, no, of course, he's got my full support.
Well, he doesn't like going out in the community, so I know it's a big ask for him to do that, but I'm sure he's willing to do it again.
I feel like this is a good time to remind my fellow jurisdictions who I've been out here with that we like to kick people under the table that we like in Massachusetts. I've had to explain that a few times out here. So this is all positive talk coming out of Massachusetts.
I love this position, so.
All right. So I think we have this one marked up for a vote, right?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mary.
Happy to move if we're ready for a motion.
I think I'm ready.
I move that the commission reappoint Vincent Panzini and David Bancroft to the Region A Local Community Mitigation Advisory Committee, and that it reappoint Joanne Kagan Levine, Ellen Patashnik, and Richard K. Sullivan Jr. and Robin Wozniak to the Region B Advisory Committee, all for a term of 1 year. And likewise, that we designate Commissioner Hill to be the commissioner participant with the committee.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and I vote yes 4-0. And thank you to everyone that served. I'll just want to say that, you know, these are unpaid positions, and they do a lot of work, and and we appreciate everything that they do. Also, Lily and Mary, we appreciate everything you do and keeping these meetings running, and of course, Joe. So, anything else?
Nope. Nope, that's all that we have for today. Nice and brief.
All right. Well, thank you again. We are now going to turn it over to CFAO Lennon for a budget closeout report. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm joined by Douglas O'Donnell and John Scully today, and we are here to present to you the FY24 closeout reports for the Gaming Control Fund, the Racing Oversight and Development Fund, and the Sports Wagering Control Fund. The presentation begins on page 42 of the public packet. Just to summarize, after 3 quarters of adjustments, the MGC's revised budget for the Gaming Control Fund was $37.87 million and relied on an assessment of $32.23 million on licensees. The Racing Oversight and Development Trust Fund budget was revised down by $800,000 to $2.1 million, which is supported by an assessment, daily fees, and commissions associated with simulcasting and live racing. And the FY24 budget for the Sports Wagering Control Fund was $10.15 million and relied on an assessment on licensees of $5.77 million. Now, to compare the revised budgets to actuals, we'll dig a little deeper into the numbers. We'll start off with the Gaming Control Fund. Final spending for the fund was $37.5 million, which is $367,000 less than the revised budget. The table on page 2 of the memorandum, or page 43 of the public packet, shows that payroll spending was over projections by about $387,000. The main reason for this was the shifting of costs from racing to here. If you recall, and I'll get into that a little bit when I get into the Racing Oversight and Development Trust Fund. But in the first quarter, we identified a huge gap in the racing revenue side, and both sports wagering and gaming took on a piece of that. Similarly, we saw consultant services exceed their spending projections by $252,000. However, this actually represents an underspending in this budget area because the last quarter saw us pay over $600,000 in independent monitor bills, and we only budget for those costs as they're incurred. So we actually underspent in that category by a little over $300,000, even though it's looking like we overspent by $252,000. We also saw underspending in the GEU by $831,000. And IT costs had small savings of $324,000. Final revenue for the Gaming Control Fund was $38.46 million, which was $577,000 above the most recent projections. The table on page 3 of the memorandum, or page 44 of the packet, shows that $299,000 of that additional revenue was related to the collections in FY24 for the independent monitor. And once again, that means, we said over $600,000 was spent in that quarter. We only brought in $299,000 through the end of FY24 because we operate on a modified cash basis of accounting. That means that $297,000 of independent monitor revenue was recognized in FY25. The other area of revenue that outpaced projections was the additional GEU security at Encore Boston Harbor. When they call in for anything above what our normal staffing pattern is there, usually to help with crowds on the weekends, that's billed directly back to them so that the other licensees don't get billed with those costs. Moving on to the assessment piece, 205 CMR 121 states that when revenues exceed projections, we have to credit back the money to licensees for their subsequent year assessment. The table at the bottom of page 44 of the packet shows that $38.4 million in revenue was collected. We spent $37.5 million. We have to add back in those FY25, that FY24 independent monitor bills that we received in FY25. And by adding all that together, it results in a $1.26 million credit to licensees for the FY25 Gaming Control Fund assessment. The tables on page 4 of the memo lay out each licensee's share of the credit. Now, before I move on from that, Are there any questions? Because I know that whole section with the credit and the licensee's assessment and moving money back and forth from independent monitor revenue and expenses can kind of get confusing. I tried to go over it at the 2x2s, but I always want to give a little extra time just because that area does get tricky.
Commissioners, any specific questions?
All right, Doug, you did a good job laying that out. Moving on to the Racing Oversight and Development Trust Fund, the commission approved a preliminary budget for the Racing Oversight Trust Fund of $2.93 million. In the first quarter, we identified that revenues were falling short and we had to revise that down to $2.1 million. And the reason that we revised that down was the loss of Greyhound simulcasting signals, as well as there was just an overall gradual decline of racing handles. We covered that pretty well in the first quarterly update of FY24. I think it was out in Springfield. But I'm gonna be honest, this is one of and I said this to one of the 2x2s, this is one of our proudest items because we did actually revise down by 800,000. And, you know, if you take a look, final spending for FY24 was 2.27 million, which appears to be 167,000 more than the approved spending level. However, if you look at the spending on the TT object class, 504,000 of that spending was for the payment of prior year outs or unclaimed wagers. We don't budget for that until it comes in. So we didn't actually have that show up. So we actually underspent in this account by over 336,000. The table on the top of page 46 of the packet shows that we underspent on seasonal supplies and seasonal employees, programmatic supplies, hearing officers, and administrative supplies. And this was targeted all in a reaction to the revised downward revenue estimates. Final revenue for the fund was 2.7 million, which was 305,000 higher than our most recent estimates. The additional 305,000 was a direct result of the unclaimed wages deposited with the commission for the prior year. So we paid out 504,000 because it was a balance forward of some of the prior year outs from the previous year. And this year, we received the 305,000 for the current year's outs. The Racing Oversight Development Fund saw final revenues of 2.7 million and spending of 2.27 million, which resulted in a 422.5 K balance forward. However, 274,000 of that surplus is restricted outs money for Rainham and Wonderland. And based on the racing statutes, that needs to be transferred to the Racing Stabilization Fund. So out of that 422,000 that we balanced forward, the final surplus to start off FY25 in the Racing Stabilization Fund is 127,000. Yes, I'm more excited about this than the 1.2 million that we underspent in the Gaming Control Fund just because of the challenges that we faced. And if you look at all the work that John, Doug, Alex, and Chad did on both projecting the revenues as well as cutting back on expenses where we could and sharing some of those costs, it was really just a great picture. Now moving on to the Sports Wagering Control Fund. It had a preliminary budget of 9.1 million. After 3 quarters, the projected budget for sports wagering increased to 10.15. The MGC balance forward 296,000 in suitability fees from FY23. We also had an initial assessment of 8.16 million on licensees to support our regulatory activities. After a credit of 2.38 million and 3 quarters of adjustments, the assessment was revised down to 5.77 million. Final spending for FY24 was 8 million. This is a 21% underspending from our projected budget. The table on page 48 of the packet explains the large variances, but the main underspending was in payroll. We had a lot of missed hire dates, or we had some transition and just delays in hiring those backfills. Fringe costs are associated with payroll, so they're about 43% of actual payroll costs. So those are, if payroll's down, that's going to be down. The AGO did not spend any of their $500,000 ISA with us. And then we did have some areas where we overspent. So we had some underspending, but then in other budget categories, we had overspending. And that was in RSM and GLI, the consultant lines, as well as we saw a little bit of overspending from our anticipated in the GEU line, because that unit opened up a couple months earlier than we had initially projected. So the good news is we had over $2 million sitting there to help with those overspending areas. But this is an area where we want to kind of firm those numbers up, because we don't want to take the licensees' monies, hold on to it as an assessment, and then be handing it all back at the end of the year. So we're going to continue to tighten up these numbers as we move through FY25. Final revenue for the fund was $10.75 million, which was $265,000 above the most recent estimates. The majority of the increased revenue had to do with additional billings for suitability investigations. And we only bill those once we actually, at the end of the month, take a look at where the suitability costs are with each licensee's deposits. If we see it going into the red, we'll bill for that. And that's why you didn't see that at the end in any of the first 3 quarters projections. 205 CMR 221 describes what the commission must do with any surplus revenue at the fund at the close of the fiscal year. Final revenue of $10.75 million and final spending of $8 million resulted in a surplus of approximately $2.75 million. However, $499,000 of that revenue was restricted because it is suitability deposits that are reserved for the costs associated with durable suitability for licensees. Each licensee's deposits and expenses through the end of FY24 can be found on attachment B of the report or page 56 of the packet. After reducing the balance forward of revenue for the restricted licensing fees, there is a $2.246 million credit to licensees FY25 assessment. The tables on the bottom of page 49 of the packet shows each licensee's share of the credit. At this point, we've come to the conclusion of our report, walking through all the details, and are open for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Derek. I want to say first, we appreciate the work that you do to ensure that we make good use of these dollars. We understand their assessments, but those are monies that could be going other places, and you make good use of them here. And Doug, everything that you do too, we appreciate it. And of course, John Scully. Commissioners, specific questions about this quarterly report? Heading in the right direction, Derek, is what I would say.
Yes, and it's been nice, you know, Commissioner Hill started this off with us at the beginning of the year. Commissioner O'Brien got to take over partway through and help us close out. So it's always nice to have the movement of commissioners in and out of it, because it does bring new and fresh ideas. Commissioner Skinner, I think, was the first one to kick off that process of rotating through new commissioners. So it's been helpful. We take a look at things that we become rote to us, and I think is always having a new set of eyes is a good thing.
I will say I cracked a joke. Derek told me that we were under budget right after Commissioner O'Brien took over, and I said, is anyone going to tell Commissioner Hill that? Because Commissioner Hill's the budget hawk here. So I went ahead and gave that credit to Commissioner O'Brien right out of the gate.
Yeah. I benefited from the rollover effect, I'm sure.
We all do, don't we? All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Doug. Derek.
One more, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Do we want to do a quick update on the closeout for the diversity numbers?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So if I can share my screen, that'd be great. Give me one sec. Okay. All right. So just as a reminder, Massachusetts Gaming Commission has had a commitment to diversity since its inception. The commission has annual state agency benchmarks determined for them by the Supplier Diversity Office, or more commonly referred to as SDO. In an effort to lead by example for its operators, the commission strives to hit these benchmarks each year. The Supplier Diversity Office is a separate state entity from the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, and its mission is to increase opportunities for certified businesses and small businesses through annual state agency benchmarks. As such, the SDO independently sets the benchmarks and does the spend tracking for the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. One thing to note for FY24 is that there were 2 new spend categories that were introduced. These categories are for disability-owned businesses and LGBTE-owned businesses. This brings the total number of spend categories that are tracked annually to 6. The other categories include small business entities, women-owned business entities, minority-owned business entities, and veteran-owned business entities. Due to the efforts of the Commission, CFAO Lennon, and its department heads, I am pleased to say that the MGC is within the top percentage of state entities in meeting these spending goals. For FY24, with the exception of veteran-owned business spending, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission met or far exceeded 5 out of 6 benchmarks that the Supplier Diversity Office set for it. And as you can see from my shared screen, we've got the chart with the numbers. So MBE spending was 110% of the benchmark. Women business entity spending was 361% of the benchmark. So we over 3x that. We actually went up year over year by a couple percent for veteran-owned business spending, but we still struggle with that. This was 12%. And that's mainly due to the categories of services that, it's difficult to find veteran-owned businesses for some of the discretionary spend categories that we use. Small business spending, we crushed that one. We 13x'd that benchmark. Disability spending, we over 100% that benchmark. And for LGBT spending, we almost 5x that benchmark. And then a little more detail into the benchmarks that were set for us by SDO. As you can see, like the spending benchmarks for disability spending was $24,428.83. Again, we hit that benchmark. LGBTE, the benchmark was $24,428.83. Again, it's the same percentage, I guess, as disability, and we almost we 4x that, 4.5x that. MBE spending, we 100% that. The benchmark was 650,000-ish. Small business spending, 268,000-ish. And again, we almost 13x that. And veteran business spending, close to 250,000. Again, we struggle with this one, and we did better year over year, but this was just under 12%. And women-owned business spending, we 3x that, and that was just over $1 million for the benchmark. All right, that concludes my update. Thank you.
John, I have one question on this. This is direct spend, right? The indirect spend from statewide contracts has not hit, so all we'll do is go up from here as well once STO does their final analysis.
That is absolutely correct. So our veteran spend, once indirect spend from like our statewide contract spendings, has been calculated and added, could be double that, for example.
All right, thank you, John. Can we take that down so I can see it?
Yep.
Thank you. This is a good time to remind everyone that this team is award-winning within the state with the Supplier Diversity Office for the work that they do. And I've walked down to that office multiple times, and they don't even realize I'm listening. And I hear Derek and John and team talk about how can we get this person on, how can we get this supplier on, and I can overhear it. Just because I don't say anything in the moment, I appreciate it and I recognize it. Commissioner Skinner?
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. Thank you, Derek and John, for your intentionality here. Those are excellent numbers. I think we can all be proud of the work that you've done. And Derek, to your point, it's only going to increase those numbers from here. And so keep up the good work. I'm very proud to be the recipient of this information today and the part of such an organization who prioritizes in the way that is reflected in the data.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I think that just comes from the tone at the top, right? All the commissioners hold our licensees to this. It is understood, and all of our managers and all of our direct spending areas understand when we say we need diversity in our vendor base. We've actually had some vendors listen to these meetings and come forward and self-identify as diverse vendors, which has helped us because then we were spending that money anyways, and now we get credit for it. Mark's group is, one of the big areas that continually brings vendors forward to us. The IT group continues to bring vendors forward to us. So, this is our job is easier by the tone that you all set at the top. So thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Commissioners, anything else to add on this topic? All right, we're excited about it. And all the commissioners always note for the licensees that we have targets and benchmarks, and it keeps us accountable. So thank you for doing that. All right, we are now going to turn it over to the sports wagering division. And for that, I'm going to go to Director Teresi.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. We have a few matters from the Sports Wagering Division this morning. And for the first one, I will turn it right over to Operations Manager Stefan.
Thanks, Carrie. Good morning, Commissioners. Begin on page 57 of your packet with a form created by our division as guidance to our sports wagering operators in the event of wagers an operator would like to void pursuant to 205 CMR 238.35 section 2. Just a reminder, this particular section of the regulation, section 2, lays out the requirements for wagers to be void with MGC approval. As you may remember, we've only had 2 previous instances of an operator requesting to void wagers. The most recent was a spelling error on a Formula One driver this past summer. However, the first from last fall is what sparked this initial discussion and conversation to develop this guidance. We wanted to provide the operators a more streamlined document, and this form will ensure that all the required information is included in one convenient spot for all parties involved. In addition to the form, the operators will also submit, as they normally would and have been, a complete wager breakdown of all the wagers they are requesting to void in a spreadsheet format, as well as a comprehensive incident report. This form is not meant to replace either of the 2 items we already require. Rather, it is intended to be more of a supplemental cover sheet for when we present this request at a public meeting. And we'll relay all this messaging to our operators as we send this out. You'll notice on the first page, there is some basic information the operator will fill out, including the total stake or wagered amount, the total liability to the operator, and the total number of individual customers impacted. Within the second page of the form, the operator will have an opportunity to explain why canceling or voiding the wagers is in the best interest of the Commonwealth, provide an explanation of the resolution for the customers, as well as provide the appropriate house rules that relate to this void request. Lastly, as the regulation requires a written order by the Commission, we have identified a few items for our division to address on the form as well, and those are listed at the bottom of the second page under for MGC use only. And that is all I have for this one. This is marked up for a vote, but we'd be happy to take any questions you may have. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. I think this is appropriate, and I think will be very helpful to the division.
Thank you,
and to
Commissioner.
the MGC.
Thank you. I will note that I like the explanation of the resolution for patron section because we often ask that question right out of the gate. And so to have that in a form and a packet before we enter into the conversation will be helpful. Commissioners?
No, I just want to thank Andrew and you guys, the team as well. I know you guys got some feedback from us that you incorporated in, so I appreciate it. So I like this. I think it'll be helpful.
Same. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Commission approve the Sport Wagerings Division's void request form as included in the Commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and I vote yes 4-0. Thank you, Manager Stefan.
Thank you.
Before we turn to the next, Director Tracy, the next item, if you don't mind, I would like to say a few things, and probably my colleagues too. I know that we're kicking it over to Manager Boschman. Crystal has been with the MGC for many years and holds a special place in my heart as the first person that at the MGC who I met on my first day. She walked me up the elevator banks and had 23 ends sitting on my desk, which she had already read. That would be a harbinger for things to come, as she ended up setting up sports wagering in the Commonwealth. And we appreciate all her work and all her various roles at the commission. And this is going to be her last meeting, but we wish her well as she moves on to bigger and better things. So just as one commissioner, Crystal, thank you for all that you've given to the MGC and to the Commonwealth. I always measure personally, was I a good value proposition for the Commonwealth? I ask myself that question every day. Did I do enough work to make an impact? There's no question that you did. What you gave to the people of Massachusetts, good stuff. Commissioners?
I know we're torturing you right now, Crystal. I can see from your face. So I'll make it short. You preceded me in the agency. You worked with Jill on the workforce diversity. You then were supporting the chair, jumping in, doing everything, being the right-hand woman and doing sports wagering, and then took all that and moved over to sports wagering. So you have been a tremendous asset to this institution and to the Commonwealth. And I know it's a great opportunity that you're going on to. They're very lucky to have you, and you will be missed here. But it shows me how much what you gained here is going to go on and benefit the institution that you're going to go to. I think we'll have to have reunions from all the people we haven't seen. I'm thinking of all the people that were here when I started and you were here. It's time for another one of those, but I wish you well. I know you've got a lot of changes going on all at once, so it's exciting and probably a bit of a whirlwind at the same time. And I'm sorry, I probably won't be able to see you face to face before your last day, but I wish you well.
So yeah, Crystal, I have only had the pleasure of working with you directly for about 2.5 years, and it was very obvious that a lot of what the agency has accomplished, even from its early days, standing up the gaming establishments, that work wouldn't have been done well without you. You were a major contributor to those projects, again, from standing up the gaming establishments, the brick and mortars, all the way through launching sports wagering and beyond. And so just adding my thanks to the chorus for all of the work that you've contributed, all of the things that you've made happen here at the agency that we are beneficiaries of. And you've been that steady guide to our operators. They know in your role as sports wagering in the division of sports wagering. And so I just want to congratulate you on your new endeavor and wish you the best, and don't forget about us.
When you speak last, there's not much else to say that hasn't already been said. But Mr. Chairman, she wasn't the first person I met when I came up the elevator on my first day, but I think she was the second or the third. And after the conversations that I had with her, I could see right out of the box what a very smart individual you are and how much you meant to this agency right on that first day. And I will tell you that you've given me over the last couple of years has been invaluable to me and has made me the commissioner that I am because of your insight into all the fields that you've been involved in here at the Mass Gaming Commission. So You are sorely, sorely going to be missed, and I too wish you the very best in your next endeavor.
Thank you. Am I clear to go to my item?
I can tell how much fun this was for you, Crystal.
I think I specifically asked for this not to happen, but thank you. Again, Jordan, it's been a weird and long 7 years. I was clearing out my desk and thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even remember doing some of this stuff. So went down memory lane this week, but my favorite part is that I get to end with the absolute worst thing that I've had to do in sports wagering since I started, which was the waivers. But we've gotten to a point where now they're just second nature. So, but I remember the first time Bruce handed these over, I said, why? They're so complicated. I guess that's why. But that's what we're here to do today. I do have actually a waiver from each operator, which is, I think we're starting on page 59. So the memo's on 59 and the waivers follow. But we do have documentation from each sports wagering operator, which requests a temporary waiver from the reserve requirement regulation 238.12, which is specific. These waivers are specific to the irrevocable, that is a hard word to say, irrevocable letter of credit, which is required by as the regulation reads now, to cover liabilities. Not today, but the division will be bringing forth a discussion relevant to this component of the regulation at a future meeting to discuss any potential changes. So the recommendation is for us to approve these waivers through promulgation of any amendment change to that regulation. I do think it's important to note that while the requirement for the letters of credit would be waived temporarily, each operator does currently have a reserve method in place, which has been reviewed very extensively by Derek, our CFO, and those range from 110% cash to surety bonds to corporate guarantees. So there are methods of protection in place at this time. They're just not the letters of credit. So given that introduction, I'll just turn it back over to you guys. And if there's any conversation or any questions, let us know. And I know Derek's on too to answer any more financially related questions because he is the expert here.
Commissioners?
I think with what's going on with the promulgation of these regulations and the conversations that are taking place between the MGC and the operators, that this is probably appropriate that we allow these waivers to move forward. From my understanding, the staff, the team has been in constant conversations with our operators regarding this regulation that will come before us. And obviously the conversations that are taking place with the commission and staff regarding those regulations are moving forward. So I have no problem, Mr. Chairman, allowing these waivers to move forward today.
I know that we had the benefit of having some conversations. Commissioner O'Brien and I were in one of them. So I would agree with that. Commissioner Hill? I'm seeing nods yes across the board. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that in accordance with 205 CMR 202.032, the commission issue a waiver to all licensed sports wagering operators from the requirements outlined in 205 CMR 238.12 until March 1st, 2025, as granting the waiver meets the requirements specified in 205 CMR 102.034 and is consistent with the purposes of GL Chapter 23N.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner?
Aye.
And I vote yes. Thank you to the team for updating us and giving us the background information on that. It was a complicated, complex issue, but you're walking us through it. We appreciate it. All right. With that, I think Director Tracy, are we heading back to Manager Stefan?
Yes, we are. If I could just briefly, before we do that, I just want to echo all the sentiments of the commissioners about Crystal and her time here at the commission. I've had the opportunity to work with Crystal in many different capacities over the years, and she's certainly contributed a tremendous amount to the commission. And we really will miss you, but certainly wish you, all the best in this next chapter. So thank you so much for everything you've done for the commission. And then, we can turn it over to Andrew for the House Rules matter.
Thanks, Carrie. Crystal, I'll save you any further embarrassment. Beginning on page 86 of the packet is a House Rules revision from Fanatics Sportsbook. They have identified 8 specific sports sections they would like to update, as well as some revisions for clarification within their general betting rules. We'll start with the general rules section on page 88. With the red line, Fanatics has added another definition within the obvious errors to include wagers that have been placed on markets that contain selections where an impossible outcome could lead to a wager not having a chance to win, and they provide an example within that definition as well. Football markets are receiving slight updates and the chance there are ties or joint winners for certain selections. For basketball, as Fanatics prepares for the upcoming seasons, they've added a few new markets for their customers to wager on with the appropriate rules. This includes predicting the correct score for a specific quarter and predicting if a player will receive at least one stat for each of the 6 categories listed. And they provided very clear rules for those new markets as well. Baseball's slight revision more aligns with other operators in this very specific scenario where if a pitcher starts a game but does not complete the first inning of play, all wagers will be void. Hockey may have the most revisions here today, with the season having just started a couple days ago. They've added a few new markets in first team to score wins the game, wire to wire, and predicting if a specific player will score a goal in all 3 periods of play. For golf, they've added an exception for tournament-based wagers on a specific golfer, where if the golfer withdraws prior to the second round, wagers would be determined void on that player. Soccer's only revision is a benefit to the customer as well, where wagers placed during halftime on a player that is subbed during halftime will be made void. And then the last 2 sports, for boxing, they've added a single new market in round outcome, where you can wager on the result for the given round. And lastly, a sport we haven't seen in a while, snooker or pool. Fanatics has added slight clarification for reduced sessions, as well as a new market for stage of elimination. And that concludes our review of these revisions. We are joined again by Fanatics Governance and Product Compliance Manager David Truman to help answer any questions you may have. However, after our review, our division confirms the revisions meet the requirements of 247.02, and we would recommend the changes be approved today. Chair.
Thank you, Manager Stefan. Good morning, David. Commissioners. Questions, comments? I'll just note for the public that any void still comes before the commission, and that's clear in the rules. And that was one thing I looked at when I reviewed it in the packet.
Yeah, and to echo my position always has been just what they've said, which is if there's an impossibility involved. And so what they're doing is sort of clarifying something that could be an impossibility that might not be obvious on its face. So.
Do we have a motion? I agree, Commissioner O'Brien.
Let's see. I move that the commission approve the updates to Fanatics House rules as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And I vote yes. And I remember the snooker conversation from many meetings ago and Commissioner Hill's questions. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Anything else, Director Teresi?
That is all from sports wagering this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioners, I think we're to item number 9. Do we have any commissioner updates this morning? Any other business that we didn't anticipate? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and I'm yes. Thank you to everyone joining a little earlier this morning. For those of us who are out in Las Vegas at the conference, we will be able to attend the conference. So we appreciate everyone in Boston for accommodating us. Have a good day.